From Sunset Beach, Hawaii, weighing 267 pounds, the magnificent Muraco.
Why is it they call him magnificent? The man who lifts condominiums off his chest. Anything that's explosive, anything that's exciting, Prince of Darkness, Master of Destruction, perpetrator of violence. Get ready! I'm gonna burn this place down!
Hello everybody, it's James here and it's Don Muraco's Magnificent Podcast with the magnificent one himself, Don Muraco. Do some plugs first. I've got this t-shirt back on that I found after about 6 weeks somewhere. It's come up. Books in the background, dontherockmuraco.com for all your signed merchandise. And for the first time in 3 weeks, here is Don himself. Hello, eventually.
Yeah. Good day.
Good day.
Yeah, that was some rabid fan must have held that t-shirt for ransom, huh? Collector's item.
No, I think it's just my missus. She just like, what she did was she hung it up, but she hung it up inside out. So I thought it was just a plain white t-shirt for like ages. I was wondering where it had gone, but anyway, I've got it now, so hopefully we can sell some more.
All right.
Wink. All right. For sale. All right.
Yeah.
Ah, dearie me. So we had. I was timing it. 30 minutes it took us. To finally get there, and then when we were close, I ruined it.
I'm still not there on my actual computer. I'm on my phone, on my wife's phone.
It's good camera, though. It's better than the laptop.
I did that one pod to Australia or someplace on this phone.
That was Briscoe Bradshaw, wasn't it?
Maybe it could be. I don't remember. I'm refusing all podcasts and everything now. Anyway.
Oh,
request.
Any reason?
No. COVID's over. COVID's not. I'm sure they got to be like writing a book. It's just it's tedious, and they write it, and it's those guys don't make any money. I made The Rock, or a couple guys, must be Flair. Some of those guys that are on TV all the time, probably making some money off of theirs, but. I just look at this, tedious work for
tedious pay
to document myself.
Writing a book is tedious. Writing 2 books is tedious. I actually started like a couple of months before the first lockdown, so it timed itself really well because then all of a sudden I had nothing to do apart from renovate a house and then write a book. So it like when other people were going, crazy, I had so much to do. We couldn't go out for 8 weeks or something the first lockdown. It was just like perfect. Absolutely perfect for me.
Oh God, not telling me it's fucked up now. Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Are you still with us?
I hope so.
Oh no, your audio's gone out now. Oh no.
Oh no.
No, you're back. Oh, you're back.
Okay.
Don't touch it for God's sake. Right, we'll talk about things. Anything news you want to talk about? The only things I can remember off the top of my head was Sonny Tammy Sitch has killed a man, and WrestleMania 38. Any particular thoughts on? You didn't watch it, did you?
I watched the. God, I couldn't sit there all those hours like that. I watched the. I come out of the closet when Raw or when the night show, the main Raw or SmackDown or something, and I try and I'm curious naturally. I'm always curious, like Kevin Owens. I told you, I'm a fan of his. But he's like the only guy that could. He's one of the few guys that can keep doing jobs like that. And his role in the companies. I mean, he's been putting guys over since before COVID, hasn't he? At least through the whole. I remember he put over Randy Orton, and the last when they had the angles they had going for during COVID and stuff. I guess they're trying to hold everything down, so to speak. But he was doing jobs. Him and the Miz were doing jobs for everybody on the main show, and still coming back with heat. He's been a baby face, a heel, a baby face, a heel. So that's the kind of worker I like. Somebody like that can, especially as a heel, that can maintain his heat And well, that's what a good heel is. Somebody can make the baby faces. Making Stone Cold isn't a monumental task. It's just but like I said, when all the criticism that they have of the WrestleManias and all the big shows that Vince has, I mean, what do they get? 15, 20 big pops during one, every match, the comebacks, and then boom, all the glass cracking. Here comes Stone Cold walking down the thing, all the roof is going off. I mean, you can't go to, where can you get entertainment like that? I mean, you don't get, you get a rock concert or a play or a musical, something like you don't get that kind of, it doesn't generate that type of excitement, that type of, that type of reaction that people you just get, that people get when watching that, when you're paying for an event. Then I hear them now complaining about the cost of the ticket. But what ticket isn't expensive? It's just
tickets have gone crazy though recently. I mean, the prices. I mean, I'm just talking about gigs and stuff. I mean, a few years ago here, there was a Stevie Wonder concert that for like £70, which is what, like, $95 over there. Yeah. And we thought that was expensive. And now everything since then has doubled. Everything's gone crazy. Yeah.
Well, chicken, fish, everything, all the meat, everything's, growth. We're, right around 10% inflation as we speak and going up, What the hell? And there's a war going on. And
yeah.
Biden, then they got Biden in to clean, so they could clean house as a lame duck for 4 years. And then it's the same thing. Well, wrestling, politics, all kinds of runs hand in hand. The criticisms, and when people say, well, Obama, this guy's a puppet, and they're all puppets. So then they criticize Biden as being an idiot, which possibly is. But you can see that he was put in there so they could run through their, get their machine back in place after Trump had kind of, displaced their whole Obama, the health care, and all these other programs that they had, and it's pretty much, wrestling follows right in suit with all that stuff. I think, so Biden's here, I think more, I see him more as like a lame duck, just in for one term so they can, kind of convert all their,
just get back to the status quo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a moderate. I must say, I mean, like with American politics, we got a lot more news when Trump was in charge. Let me tell you, because now Biden's in charge, and not really much is happening. It doesn't seem to be anywhere near as much coverage, I suppose, because you don't get anywhere near as much clicks with moderate views and moderate actions.
Stuff, just I don't know.
Back
to WrestleMania.
Yeah, we're back to WrestleMania, because I had to review it. Let's say I had to review it, but I reviewed it with somebody else. And the thing is that it just sort of brings out the hypercritical person in yourself when you're sat there trying to review it, and you're trying to pick holes in everything. You don't just sort of just let it, wash over you and absorb it and enjoy it.
Entertainment, yeah.
Yeah, so you complaining about somebody who you follow just say, just like picking apart absolutely everything, and it does take the fun out of it.
Yeah, well, I see all the haters, and I'm gonna comment, but I don't. I did all my commenting for when I was doing that Making Waves with the Avi Klein thing. So, I gave up on all that. I laid out all kinds of opinions and this and that, prefacing, trying to. Well, he needed, he always pumping, pump your hour coming up.
Yeah. We are
the show coming up, obviously Dwayne he had no following, no viewers, but
before we go to the main event of just answering fans' questions, you posted something recently, Tony Rocco. So I've never heard of this guy, and I said, "Oh, is it Antonino Rocca?" And he said, "No, this is Tony Rocco, a totally different guy." Yeah. So who is he?
He's European, Italian, obviously, Italian fellow. I think he came out of Wigan there, Italy. He had the cauliflower ears. He was similar. He's like Les Norton and Tony Charles. Great worker, hell of a worker. Great, fabulous performer. He had that Italian that Italian accent he could never drop. He went to AWA with Vern Gagne. It's a funny story because he spent all his life in LA, down Santa Monica Beach, working for Mike LaBelle and stuff. But he got one break in the AWA to go and drop the world light heavyweight strap on Greg Gagne. So he got there. There's something in my throat. So they took him there, and he did his promo. And when he does the promo, if fuck, he kept saying, and it's if I could, you're gonna, yeah. But that's all. I guess Vern pulled out about 3 hairs that he had left, and cut it, forget it, and then it's over. No, he lived. He was went to Florida, went on the road a little bit, I think kept his family most of the time in Santa Monica. I don't know if he had an apartment or condo or what he was doing there, but every time I'd go back to LA, and then I ran across him in Florida and stuff. He's a nice guy, great. One of those guys. He was a great worker, like those guys, And he passed away several years ago.
Yeah,
but he was a beach bum. He loved down at Santa Monica. He was always at Santa Monica there. John Tolis and Blassie and those guys. Richards Dugan.
So was he always a journeyman then?
Pretty much, yeah. Unless he went to territory, no promos. He wasn't a big, maybe 5'9"ish, 5'10" at the most. He was on like the same size as Tony Charles, Les Thornton. They all, all those guys were about the same size. God, I got something in my throat. 5'9", 5'10", 225 pounds. Real athletic, real hell of a worker. That English style, but they were able to adapt it to, the United States.
I like how everyone's English has always come from the Snake Pit, because I always thought Adrian Street had come from the Snake Pit, and he hadn't.
Oh, God, no,
there we go. See, even the dog's disagreeing with me. I'll move on to a couple. I'll move on to the main event then, unless I have to pause for the dog or.
No, I think they're gone.
Okay. Right then.
Nope, they're gone.
Main event then. I'm going to ask questions, ask Muraco anything, the usual, you know the deal. And first one is from me, and I forgot to mention this to you that I was going to ask you this. But Fabulous Moolah and Wendy Richter, the original Screwjob, 1985. Do you remember what happened? The masked spider lady.
There's some. Who's the spider lady? Moolah?
Yeah.
Somebody snuck a fall. They snuck a fall on Wendy or something, right?
Yeah.
In Madison Square Garden, it was taped. And they had it all. Oh, fat ass. The Chihuahua, the kid's dog. Just trying to get down here and she likes to sleep down here.
I thought you were talking about Fabulous Moolah for a minute then.
In the dungeon, yeah. Same type of body.
Stout.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you in the arena that day? I mean,
I think so, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, is that not the kind of thing that just like filtered through? Oh, hang on, Wendy Richter just got screwed, and then she never turned up again.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, then we started going. I guess after that, because I remember after there wasn't too long after that we started using Moolah's Girl to tag teams. The 4 ladies would come through, and 2 or 3 weeks or however that long they were in the territory for, and then they'd move on.
Yeah, I imagine you don't know what it was all about then, why they wanted to get rid of Wendy.
Oh, God, I think probably Wendy wanted more money, probably wanted a good push. It was just, it comes with the territory. She was in there with Cyndi Lauper and all that stuff going down. She was a big part of WrestleMania. I hope she got a good payday, but, she was in on all that.
Mm. With Wendy, you see some of the photos, the publicity photos, and it's Hogan, the celebrities, and Wendy Richter. So how big of a star was Wendy in 1985?
She got a good push. She got a good, and I don't know if I know I saw her a few times after that, but it was probably on independent shows or after I left the WWF or whatever. Maybe that ran into her. I know she did a couple shows here in Hawaii We did an autograph signing in Hilo, some mall. I remember sitting next to her and looking across, and they had that Lion coffee. I was telling her, if you want to buy any, gifts to take back, that coffee was on sale, $4 or $5 a little, thing.
Did you ever spend any time with Wendy? Actually, did you even talk to Cyndi Lauper at the time? Were they sequestered somewhere else in the arenas when they turned up?
I was around Piper. We went up to David Wolf. I forget his last name.
Yeah,
David,
the record producer.
Yeah, went up to his room, and they had adjoining rooms. They're like I don't know, like they weren't together or something. I don't know. She was there, and she was a real nice lady. And I was standing next to her in the the Land of a Thousand Dances there. But she was, she wasn't unreachable, and she seemed pretty in touch. She came down when we were shooting the album cover. She was always accessible. And at that time, I guess she was a big, just right behind Madonna there. She was a big star.
Yeah. I like how you just don't even quite know that because you were so in the wrestling bubble, you didn't even know that Cyndi Lauper was like a massive star.
No, yeah, well, I did. I miss Madonna. I didn't, just a few years ago, I found out, how great Madonna was. I didn't, looking at the spreadsheets on the money and the, how much this person's worth, and that's 300-400 million. Wow, she was over, and then see people's reaction. Yeah, I miss. Not that I have anything against Madonna but she just went right by me. It's just I was all the TV MASH and all the great TV shows at the time, everything. We're on the road, we're working every night, so we weren't privy to follow, getting in the, following any movies or any serials, any comedies or what's going on.
Yeah. So did you never even go to see the films then? You've got a few hours left.
Oh yeah, a couple of some of them. We have a night off and stuff. The movies, the theater, and it was still theater back then, and they were whatever happened to be current. Scarface, I remember, and a few of those others in the time. But the movies, we're current enough to see. We're available enough to see them. We're aware enough to see the big movies and stuff that are coming out. If you're fans of something.
Well, let's say you go to a town, you get there about 5 hours too early for, when you have to go to the arena, you've already done your gym or you're hurt and you're not going to the gym. How would you spend 5 hours?
I'd go to a movie sometimes. The gym, there wasn't very much. Usually at a hotel, unless you're leaving, usually you're there in the hotel. But those, it's, everything's like pre-6 o'clock, pre-meal time. So, you're not watching any of the prime time, shows that were on at the time.
I will move on to the first official question then. This one is from Raj. Hygiene matters, so who was the smelliest wrestler?
Oh, God. Smelliest wrestler. Phew. I don't know. Uncle Elmer, no, I was. I remember Fuji used to point out some guys that these guys Hona. I can't. I'm sure there were some, guys that were, me on the road. Whoever was on the DMSO or something on the time, because that would leave a hell of a smell on your tights and stuff. But God, everybody's, when you're on the road all the days on end, you got to keep some type of hygiene. If you're going home and stuff every night, or you're in a car all the time, but we weren't in cars, we're in airplanes, and always pretty much publicly. Adrian, when he finally got out there in the end, before he got, he was pretty lackadaisical, but there were some guys, George Wells, but everybody was clean and seemed to be, fairly healthy.
What was the two questions then? What was the laundry situation then? Because I remember hearing a story that Honky Tonk Man used to FedEx his dirty laundry back to his house for his wife to clean. Did you know that at the time?
Maybe. Oh, they have a service in a hotel or something. No, they have the hotel room. The hotels have service, drop off service if you're going to be there for a couple. Like if you're in Pittsburgh for a couple of days. Well, if you're going to Pittsburgh for a couple of days, you arrive at Friday night or sometimes earlier in the week. You'd have enough clothes for a change. The only thing you really gets smelly is your gym stuff or your wrestling gear. Your streetwear was always for most people pretty neat all the time. So I don't.
Did you clean your trunks in the sink every night, or did you put that with the laundry for the hotel to deal with?
Oh no, they did wash. They were, those heavy Carl and Hildegard tights, the thick nylon. Yeah, just wash them out, the shower or something, and they would dry them. They wouldn't always dry well. I have 2 or 3 pair. You have 2 or 3 pair of tights with you. A couple of pairs of shoes, red and I had red and blue or red and black. But a couple. So it wasn't. Well, one was drying, or one was in the car drying, or something. You bought the other pair.
Knee pads. Did you bother washing knee pads?
Not very much. After a while, they could walk by themselves.
What about boots?
And they would make when you got made at home.
Oh. What about boots? I mean, did they smell bad, or did they not matter, or because they're leather, you can't just rinse them in the sink?
They never seemed to get that too bad. And then again, you had several pairs. And if you blew out something, you could call the what's this guy's name in Arkansas? Nash? No. It doesn't come to me, but you call. He originally he took all the measurements of your feet. You'd have to call him in. He'd measure this, measure, and he'd have that. And you could have a pair. You'd be on the road. Or something happened to your boots. Or you lost your boots. You call him and Ash is his name. Ash. You call him. You'd have a FedEx your pair of boots to your next hotel or next arena.
How often?
And then most guys, if you paid you didn't try and stiff them on the boot, stiff them on the. Most guys, just run your credit till you got back to home base and stuff, because it wasn't just flash a credit card anymore. Back then, it was a check in the mail or something like that.
How often did you have to send the boots back to get resold, recorked, or whatever it is?
Jeez, depends on how much you're keeping up on them. Those things are tough. They would, obviously all the wear and tear you put on them. Then you get, if you did a lot of working out, when you got to the arena, like Backlund or Mike Sharp or some of those guys wearing the shoes. I would do the squats and push-ups as well. So, you try, if you're thinking you wouldn't put your boots on till before your match, but at times you would. It wasn't really a problem, I don't think, because you'd spend a lot of time. You just be wearing them for a couple hours a night. The rest of the time, they'd be, pretty much drying out.
There we go. I think that's got to be the most thorough discussion on wrestler hygiene on the road that there's ever been. But, I still find all that interesting, more than most for some reason. Next question. Thomas Comfrey. Does Don know why Vince Jr. always called Lou Albano Captain Louis Albano? And what was Lou a captain of?
The good ship Lollipop. King Curtis gave him the name, or that's what he claims to have given the name long before I was in the territory. They were all sitting around, and Curtis called. Curtis is such a brilliant talker, and it was with the boys and stuff like that. And he's the one that named him captain for some reason. I don't know why.
Right, so it wasn't like at some point he was a keen boater.
No, war hero or something like that. Yeah.
Originally, Captain Lou was like a wise guy gimmick, wasn't he? Like a gangster mafia kind of
gimmick.
Yeah,
him and Tony Altamore.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me about that then, because this was when he was a full-time wrestler as well, wasn't it?
Oh, he was a good-looking guy. He was like a movie. They were like two movie stars. He had the little mustache, and he wasn't. because you got that's probably why I don't know how Junior got to hate the guy. I told you how he had get he hated him, but he was calling him a fat slob or so, I was doing something to him, but he carried him through like he was one of Senior's guys. So Vince took care of those guys for some reason. Vince, he had a thing for Blassie. He loved Blassie with all the clothes and the matching suits and boots and stuff like that. So he loved Blassie, but it was something, he was always captain. He would, he was, but he always took care of him. He was on, and the guy could talk, man. He could talk to anybody, sit down. He just, he always had something entertaining. There was a group of guys, some of those guys back then were just, tremendous deep conversations, just people would be around, entertaining,
You mentioned that you kept him around, but Freddie and Captain Lou are basically let go around the same time, like 86. Roth? Ernie Roth died, is why he didn't carry on. But with Captain Lou and Freddie Blassie, he lets them both go around 86, 87. Were they sort of just like at the edge of just retirement age and wanted out, or were they pushed
way
out?
Past, yeah.
Yeah.
They were way down. When I saw Lou had gone back, and Lou had a bunch of other gigs going. Lou was a wealthy man. He had home in Florida, home up in White Plains around Skolin there somewhere. Yeah, Lou was, he acted. He get crazy when he's on the road, but I guess Colin Altamore, he was a puppy dog at home. Just meek, quiet little guy. He would never know it. He was. I tell you about Lou and the Tuesday, Wednesday, Allentown, Hamburg, when they get the payoffs, and you'd hear that Irish son of a man, and then that no good Irish, and he'd be in the 8 cups of vodka and water, vodka and juice, vodka and vodka, and by the end of the night he's flying. So he'd be bitching at the old man about payoffs and stuff, which he was in matches, and there's a good mouthpiece, and he was a good had a big following. But Tuesday night inevitably, it is just to see somebody there sitting with a lobster tail, and back in the chair and just dipping the lobster tail, eating it in his hand. And just that scene alone, it's like something out of King Richard or something. It's just he was an incredible character, man. And you just don't see people like that. Even wrestle. Even you just don't see that.
Yeah. Well, they sort of beat the personality out of you. I think if you were like that in wrestling, you wouldn't, or in WWE or AEW, you wouldn't be hired in the first place, which seems such a shame.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Lou. Well, like I said, Lou was Lou, man.
Was he fired, or was it just his time to go and he wanted to go?
I don't know. I'd been fired long before that.
Yeah. No. He left in '86, so you were right in the thick of it at the time. He was managing.
I thought he had the Bulldogs and stuff. I don't know. I got fired in '88. And luckiest thing, best thing that ever happened to me. Came back here, Hawaii, and became a longshoreman.
Well, will the person who outed you for being fired, Greg Valentine? There is a question about Greg somewhere down here that I want to get to as well. So hopefully we will do. This next question, Peter D. Don, the Honky Tonk Man, would take one bump per indie match and told his opponents to choose that bump wisely. Assuming you were facing somebody you didn't know, did you give your indie opponents any rules they had to follow? How did you take care of yourself when facing green guys?
I don't think I gave him any bumps. Just if it was somebody if I show up and I was working with usually they had me working with a Tito or a Snuka or somebody, Greg Valentine or somebody like that. Was somebody that I'd be working with, and those I don't know about those independent. Those independent guys took bumps in the independent shows. I wasn't there to draw next week or to get myself over. I was already over. I was just making an appearance. and trying to fulfill that, that obligation. Wasn't that's pretty much all it is now. You just show up in your face, then, and you do your finish, and you strut around for 5-6 minutes. That's about it.
While you were longshoreman and still doing the wrestling, I know you said you used to, your holiday time, your vacation time, you used to do tours here and there. With independent shows, how many independent shows do you think you probably did that weren't major, like Eastern Championship Wrestling, below that weren't filmed?
God, not many. Less than 20. My wife was with the travel agency. So I would get the flights, stand coat and tie, and they'd bump me up to first, and that'd be about it. But yeah, I didn't do a lot.
Because there was the Australia tour, you did quite a few.
Did that, yeah.
Quite a few things.
That
with
came
ECW.
after I got my hand crushed in a forklift.
Was it?
I got this hand crushed in a forklift. And my glove caught. The guy was raised the thing. I heard him crack, all four of them, right across the top there. And you can't see it now, but there's a line there.
Oh, thank goodness. Have you got like proper mobility in your hand now from it? Or?
No.
Oh right.
But I'm proper in the rest of my body either. So, it's just another handicap I don't recognize.
No. Did you get workman's comp for that?
Oh yeah. Workman's comp, yeah, and a settlement and comp and
an Australia tour.
4 or 5 months. Yeah, I worked with Jake one night. I forget where, but we were doing something. And Jake was a piece of cake. He grabbed that double knuckle lock where you go down and then you come back there. And it's super, And I did that. And he was so light, he must have saw my eyes roll in my head when he locked my fingers up like that, because I was just kind of going through with him. He was doing his pitch, and he was currently off of TV, and he was hot, and I'd been to Australia and I've been off TV for a while, so he was just kind of leading him. I ended up healing most. I worked with him and JYD and some other guys over there that were heels, that were baby faces. So I'd heal more. So yeah, when he and he said, easy, I got you. As with a pro, he's got a hold of his crushed hand, So.
How long did he take off work with it?
Probably 4 or 5 months, and it's 3 to 5. Not a whole lot of time. Swelled up, and then as soon as they sent me back.
Jeez. I'll tell you a story afterwards, but I won't have it on the podcast. Next question is, and I know the answer, but we'll answer it anyway. The Actual Saint asks, did you feel that you needed superstar Billy Graham as your manager? Thanks.
All up until that time, all the managers were appointed by the office. I was making that turn to babyface. And they put it there. I didn't want it. It was just kind of gradually, kind of the way it went, because they took everything away from Bob and I, and they didn't really give us a push as a tag team. But we had a lot of good had a lot of good spots there, as falling off of Piper's pit, the thing with him and Piper, and with Hulk and Snuka, and some of the. So we had a lot of good shots for a while. Danny Spivey and. Who was it? Was it Barry? Yeah, Barry was still there. Then later, Danny Spivey and Mike Rotundo.
Mike Rotundo, yeah.
Yeah. So we had, a lot of good shows. We had a good run there, about a year as a tag, and neither of us were really tag wrestlers, but we're able to adapt. We're both pretty set. Bob, one of the best workers, period. All time. So he was able to adapt easy, and I just followed.
I can't remember this, but was Bob let go after you turned good guy?
I don't know. I think I was probably gone. I don't know. Probably right around that time.
Sorry, I'm looking. I'll Google that while I ask the next one. Then, so how much notice did you get before you realised you were going to be split from the team? Mr. Fuji had already sort of just migrated away from you, and that was a very gradual process. When were you told, listen, here's what's going to be happening, everything's going to change for you on camera?
Never, just kind of morphed that way, where I just, I got in shape. I dropped a bunch of pounds, and I bulked up. I was pretty ripped and stuff. And then, that's how I got that rock thing, the rock deal going. It's nothing I ever, I was happy being the Magnificent One, being a heel. But, they'd been let go and beat down by a few of the bookers and other things. So, it was gradually. And then I tore my groin. So that was like the beginning of the end. I lost that half step there.
Wikipedia, the always reliable Wikipedia, says you feuded with Bob Orton after you split up. Mr. Fuji would manage Bob Orton, and then Bob would pretty much disappear in November of 1987. Doesn't give a reason why. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, yes, it does. Hang on. Right, November 7th, 1987, where Orton fought preliminary wrestler Sam Houston to a draw in his home state of Missouri. That was 7th of November. Orton was fired after this for getting arrested for causing a disturbance at a Calgary airport. Do you know about that?
Oh, yeah. Bob would drink, and when he drink, he just, he just black out. He didn't go. I remember we're on a plane, we were on a plane one time, a mid-pipe, sitting there, and he was following, and I guess they'd been up all night. I came from home, and they'd been up all night. And the stewardess, she comes, oh, that wrestling, it's fake, the same old 9 yards. And then Bob leaps into the conversation. Says, when you're making love to your boyfriend, are you oohing and awing? And is that for real or is that fake? Oh my God. Off the plane. Call the security. That was it. Say, any minutes, whatever town. We're going across country too. And somehow he made it on another airlines. But I guess that sobered him up. But he could go off. Yeah, I remember that. Oh God. I went with Strongbow. We kept through and we were there. We were going through customs. And some big LGBT lady was at the, doing the paperwork and stuff. And everybody's, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. What do you want? You didn't get any last night? And back. And so I walked around with Strongbow trying to get him out, to get him, the police. And the guy, he's, yeah, freaking cops. You guys, and they sent him back. Yeah, I remember that. Was that Calgary?
It says Calgary Airport. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one. But there are a couple other teams. Bob could go off, and Bob was a big boy, 6'3", solid, 260 pounds, big in that menacing voice. He didn't mean that. He never, but he could scare people.
Was it belligerent? Would that be the word?
Yeah, I suppose.
What was
he could get, otherwise he was a good drunk. But if somebody, rubbed him the wrong way.
So what was he fired for? Was he fired for upsetting many flight attendants, or was he fired because he didn't get to the show on time? Or
yeah, I didn't make that show, and I guess he'd had a couple other incidents like that one we had when we were going to the West Coast from Newark, and things. It was time, it was time. They were trying to get rid of me, trying to get rid of him. It wasn't. They had their idea of people, I guess, they wanted coming in.
Newark? I don't know that story.
Yeah. Well, that's when I said the waitress. I mean,
I'm sorry.
Stewardess.
I thought that was the Calgary one.
Fake and stuff, and he leaps into and he just like a rabbit. He just jumps across the aisle. And you're sexing your boyfriend, and you're moaning and you're groaning. Is that for real or that? The stewardess's eyes are, oh God. Bob, that's all right. Let it go. That's okay. No, and you couldn't.
Sorry, I thought he was on a roll in Calgary then. I thought that all happened in one place.
That was for another day. That was time for another day.
Dear Bob. We'll move on.
He was away from home all the time. His wife and family was in St. Louis. He was on the road all the time, and I'm sure he'd been there since early mid '80s, and I'm sure he was probably burnt out on the road too. Everybody gets burnt out.
You weren't there for the Jim Neidhart one, were you?
I was in Pittsburgh when he didn't show up, but and then he carried all his money around with him. He got the big settlement, and Vince wanted a cut. Vince wanted his piece. No, he wouldn't. So he walked around with his money in a Halliburton, I heard, after that. Yeah.
Did he ever find?
$300,000.
I was going to say, did he ever find a civilized Bloody Mary?
I'm sure he did. Or he was hunting for quite a while. He had a neck like nobody else. I tell you about the Warrior adjusting his neck one time.
I think you might have done. Yeah, I think we've got that.
It would have killed anybody else. He would have killed. Would have broken their neck. The way he snapped his neck around, he put it back in, and Neidhart just sat there with that big Brahma bull neck of his. Just thank you very much. That was extremely wonderful.
Like everyone had to be like an amateur chiropractor when they didn't have doctors on the road.
He was a chiropractor.
Was he?
Yeah. Word has it that that he was or studied for it, or I don't know if he actually had a shingle. Yeah. Well, maybe.
Right, I shall move on then. Hawaii Sidecar. Where can I get a HPW T-shirt XXL? Feel the manner.
I get all my T-shirts from my son or my daughter. I don't know. I haven't bought a piece of clothes in years.
That's
except the shorts I get from Walmart to work out in or swim, and even those I get the surf clubs and stuff I get from there.
Amazing. The next question is from Paul Stockwell. What is Mr. Muraco doing now in the gym?
Nothing. I go by the gym. I don't go to the gym. Angelo Mosca's line. He goes by the gym. He doesn't go to the gym. Now I got a little bench over here and weights. I tore my other bicep. I told you last time I tore the other bicep. So I've just had, and then I had the tooth pulled. I'm going for the implants. So I've had a miserable month. My cardio has been down to zero. In fact, I just got the okay to swim again tomorrow. So I'm going out and swim, and then I have something on Thursday. So I won't be swimming for a while after that. So it's my cardio is just and my blood pressure is still pretty good, but my cardio has been miserable.
Last year, you told me that you were doing very light weights with very high reps. What were the number of reps and the heaviness or lack thereof of weights?
Oh, several different, curls, presses, maybe 100 and a quarter reps. But over, I start seated with the front and then the thing and dumbbells and side hammer presses and flies, and then go back to like 60 reps on the bench press, the triceps and some bench press positions. No weights though. Real small dumbbells.
Yeah.
Now, especially now, 5-pound dumbbells because my shoulders and biceps are torn again.
Whenever you went to a gym in Europe, did it ever throw you because all the weights here are in kilograms?
I don't think so. We never, you can see the plates. So by that point, I don't think anybody was, doing, real heavy. Not many guys are not often, or you're if you were, you're in a pretty, you got pretty smart about it. You're a location, where you could go heavy, or if it was a heavy day or something like that. If you're training, when I was training with Dino or Davey Boy or some of those guys, it would go heavy at times, but I never got that hit. I was never that, I hit 500 one time on the bench, twice. Once when the Sheik was spotting me, and another time. And but I wouldn't go. I was always reps, and I tore up my body enough just doing that. I imagine what those powerlifters and stuff look like.
With I'm sure I've asked you this before, but just remind me what's the heaviest you ever benched?
Five even.
And was it like straight to the chest, hold for a second, back up?
I don't know if that. It was just it was pretty clean. I don't know if it was contest worthy or not. It was getting it. The what is it? 5 plates and the two 2.5s or something like that. Yeah, 5 plates and 2.5s or something like that. Yeah.
Right, next question is from Timbo, and he always asks pretty much the same question. I always ignore it, but I'll ask it you because why not? Timbo says, could you ask Don how the addition of human growth hormone to PED stacks in the late 80s affected WWF wrestlers? For instance, we know that John Studd might have caught cancer from HGH. Apparently, I don't know that. We also know that when the anabolics were banned, many wrestlers started HGH. Thanks a lot. Your podcast is number 1. So, human growth hormone.
Came out after I was gone. Came later. I heard, when I looked around, I saw, when they were coming, did some shows in Hawaii. I saw Warrior. He came through one show. And I remember Warrior and I were pretty, travel around and were pretty friendly and stuff. And he was telling me that, how they're stacked. But, there was, I think it was out of New York or Los Angeles, or maybe they had an office in each place where you could go. It was a wellness foundation or wellness clinic or something like that, where they'd bring you in and they do all the testing on you, and then they'd prescribe whatever the HGH and the growth hormone, and the steroid that you could stack with it. But I was after I was gone. Yeah. So GH became pop. I guess John had, must have had, an early, John was trying to do heavy weights. John wasn't that, he was strong, but he wasn't that, John had long arms and long legs. He wasn't built for real big, real heavy weights. He wasn't like Dino or Tony Atlas or one of those guys, Animal Ward Warrior, those kind of guys.
Yeah, I've never heard this, that John Studd might have caught cancer from HGH. I've never heard that before.
I don't know what.
No, that could definitely be some speculation.
He kind of left after his Andre angle. He was, kind of gone. And, but he was always always in good standing. John was a big, humble guy. Nicest guy in the world. The only guy that wanted to give him a hard time was Fuge.
I'm not shocked.
And no, he came over here to Hawaii. He was wrestling for Ed France when we were all here. Steve Strong, myself, Tolis, John Studd, Furpo was here. Ed France, just before Ed Francis, and Fuji took him out to his friends, Fuji's best friend that lived in the place, and he ran the lot of gambling. The governor and Don Ho kind of ran, were the heads of the whatever it was over here, and they were down the line. He was a general or a major in that army. So he took him out there to the guy's house to work out. He had a beautiful gym. He 225 pound dumbbells, all kinds of weights and stuff. So he wanted to take him out, Stud out there to play, to rib him, because his friend had speedboats and had boats, and he wanted to take him out because John couldn't swim. He wanted to take him out in the ocean and dump him off, but they wouldn't do it. The other guys, Stud was such a humble, nice guy. All those guys just fell in love with him. He was just, they wouldn't let nothing happen to him. They knew he was, it was, oh, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. That, thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Yeah, that's the kind of guy he was. He was, mellow, harmless harmless seeming guy, you know, and for some reason, that drove Fuji nuts, and you know, everything that was another thing that backfired, you know, that seemed to backfire on him kind of, because he couldn't get his friends to play, you know, Rib John. In fact, after that, he took him out there, and they would pick him up and take him to meals and feed him, and you know, take him to the gym, everything. John lived like a king after he introduced him to his friends, Fuji's friends.
Speaking of Fuji and ribs backfiring, the next question is from Michael Mez. Any stories of Lonnie Moondog Mayne and his time in San Francisco? Who, if at all, was Lonnie connected to the other Moondogs that were in the WWF because their characters were totally different? How good of a wrestler was he? Am I right in saying that Fuji always used to try and rib Lonnie Mayne?
I guess they went back and forth. They got each other. They were good friends. They were really tight. He was, you know, I remember when Lonnie was in Hawaii. Fuji. He had come back from Portland. He had just had his first. He'd been working for years, but he got his first break because he was a local guy. It's like the New York guys. They wouldn't use him over here. He's the guy that got me over to go to Vern Gagne. So I did 20-minute Broadway with him at the old Civic with Masa Fujiwara. And he's the one that got, you know, worked slams off the top and all kinds of, you know, he's the one that got me over for Vern Gagne. Going to AWA, Tally Ho booked that match. And I worked at a 20-minute Broadway with Fuji. But he'd come back, and Lonnie was the big card in Portland, Oregon. And, you know, it's great bump taker. Like Mick Foley, similar, not just crazy bump, you know, but, you know, there's kind of that, all that stuff. You know, he'd be standing on the top rope and have somebody drop kick him from the back and go over the top rope to the floor and things. He was a great bumper, great worker, great talk, you know, great in the ring, great guy. But, you know, Boo's got a hold of him.
So what was the Moondog character for him that was different to the WWF ones then?
He had been Mad Dog. He came to Hawaii just to cool off from Portland, I guess, because he was real, you know, he'd switched babyface and he was their top babyface there. So I guess he came to Hawaii for a few months just to cool off, you know, to kind of cool down. And he came in as Mad Dog. And it so happened Maurice Vachon was on his winter sabbatical, one of his winter breaks, and he didn't. I guess he's had a, you know, they had a word with Lonnie about, you know, hey, there's, you know, one Mad Dog in the business, and that's how Lonnie became Moondog. I guess had the little conversation with Maurice. So then he went to New York. And I don't know what happened in New York because he only had a shot or two with whoever. I think Pedro was the champion at the time. But I imagine him being such a great worker and performer and all the way around guy. I kind of think it was probably the booze that maybe that messed his run up there in New York. I'm just guessing. No facts, no, but just let's guess. It wasn't long after that he had his accident.
What was the accident?
Oh, he ran across the road and hit some lady and her daughter head on. Yeah, all three of them were, I don't know, instantly, but they all died. Yeah, he drank that Crown Southern Comfort. He liked that. He used to sip on it all day long. And
yeah,
I guess he was driving to San Bernardino or something, and it just went off.
Yeah, with him and Mr. Fuji. I'm sure was that the duck hunting rib? I can't remember the story.
Oh yeah, I heard that story too. Yeah, they did all kinds of stuff to each other. I rode when I got a ride. I was green as hell. I got a ride with him. He was goofing with me. I was a kid. I was just started out in Portland, and But he was a hell of a nice guy. Beautiful family, lovely wife. You know, it's one of those things.
Yeah, one of those things. Okay, I'll ask one or two more questions, then we'll call it a day. And from one Moondog to another, Don C asks.
Yes, I saw that
Yeah,
question.
any memories of Spot Moondog? He's written Moondog Spot.
Oh my God, that guy.
He always seemed a mysterious character. Never heard him speak or give interviews. Always had a great match, win or lose. Would love to find out what kind of bone he was always chewing on.
I don't know. We had rented cars one night, and we were in Buffalo, New York, and you know the snow is up, you know, like this up to us, the freezing, like the sheet, the snow. So I borrowed the car to go across the street to pick up some wings, and you know, grab some pizza and stuff. There's a place, but you couldn't walk there because you know it's snow and dangerous from the highway. And you had to cross the highway, so I came back and parked the car. And Fujisawa, he helped me carry the stuff in. So I went inside, I had the key, put the keys on my thing. So Fuji saw the car. I guess he didn't like Larry. Larry Latham was his name. So he went back out, and I guess it was in the morning. He got up. Fuji would work. He would suffer for his ribs. So he went out and he got the guy with the snowplow. And they buried his car in snow because Buffalo, you had that much snow. So Moondog came out to look for his car and he couldn't find it the next day because it was all buried in snow, and nobody knew where the hell it was. And I parked it outside, and oh God, we're all going. And the cops came and everything else. They could never find it till the thawed out in Buffalo, and there was his car sitting under the pile of snow. God bless Harry Fujiwara.
Did you ever wrestle, Spotty?
See, I don't think so. No, I was pretty well healed by then. Still a heel. I hadn't made a change.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because Larry Latham wasn't even Memphis based, so I don't think you would have wrestled him when you were, in Florida or anything, would you?
No, I might have come across him a couple of times, but I never had the privilege. He was a hell of a worker.
Spend much time with him.
Ed White, Sailor White, was the other Moondog originally with Randy Colley. And I don't know what happened to him, but he was from up around Montreal and stuff. And I think he had a drinking problem or he couldn't get back across the border is what happened. He had all kinds of border issues. So they had to let him go. And that's how they brought Larry in as the other Moondog.
So which one was Moondog Rex then?
True. He was Spot. Was it Rex and King?
There was a King, but I thought King replaced Spot. Hang on, I'm gonna have to search this. You carry on.
Randy Colley was the other Moondog. I don't know if he was Rex or King. I think it was King and Rex.
Yeah, he was Rex.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else.
So King was Sailor White, Ed White, from Montreal.
Yes, I think that rings a bell. Yeah, so Randy Colley, 2019, he died.
Yeah, it's recently.
Yeah. Do you know, a few years before, like when WWF goes national, the Moondogs were they were like tag team champions. But by the time I was starting getting like because my friend Tate had tapes from years beforehand, and I saw them, it was Moondog Spot on his own, and he was, what they say, jobber to the stars, or just basically a jobber. So, I mean, why did he fall out of favour, do you think?
It's just like Morocco and Order or something. They just ran their course, it's too hard to change his gimmick, I guess, because he's so he was white and the white hair and everything else, so it was hard. You couldn't move him. He wasn't going to switch. They weren't going to switch him babyface. I don't know. I think Randy Colley. I think he came down with some type of illness. I think because they were still going pretty strong, and then then the Harts, Brett and Anvil and Dynamite and Beefcake and Valentine, all those guys came. Those kind of went with those other tags. They kind of faded out.
Well, you should remember as well. You should remember as well that Randy Colley was the gimmick that you invented at Smash of Demolition. He was the original Smash.
Well, that was I don't know who was who, but Bill Eadie and Barry Darso.
Yeah, Barry Darso ended up replacing Randy Colley because even with the face paint, everybody recognised Randy Colley.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, right. We'll move on to
because Randy. He was an easy guy too. You know, those guys were real nice guys.
We will move on to one more, and then we will shut the podcast down. Brainbuster Pro Wrestling. Could you ask Don any good stories about Mark Lewin? I imagine you've got none.
Mark was. I used to run with Mark a lot, and he was an interesting guy. You know, he had a wife here and a wife there. You know, he was a busy man, but as far as extremely entertaining or relatable stories, no. Just the way they ran a hell of a territory between him and Curtis. Mark was the heel. He was always the dick. He would, for money or for this or whatever, he had and Curtis was a good guy. Curtis was the baby face. He had all the boys get them what they wanted, nightclubs or, strip clubs and stuff that, they had. Curtis had the personality that, just opened doors, just got him in, everywhere. So yeah, they were a great tag team and did fantastic business in New Zealand and some of the other areas they ran. But yeah, they were. That's pretty much what his stories were like.
Yeah.
Everything else is mostly. He wasn't that crazy on the road or crazy. It's just mostly his personal life. His personal life was very entertaining.
Yeah, Dr. Tom, I remember telling me this a while ago, said that when he used to knock around with Mark Lewin, he'd go to his house or wherever he was living. They'd do a lot of stuff, whatever that stuff was, and then they'd go to the gym.
Yeah. That was Mark, yeah. He was always, that's what happened, just, mellow, very coaxing, very, manipulative. I mean, you're being worked when you're sitting with him. You're getting, he was laying on the grease, but it was you're just dealing. That's the way it was back in those days.
Yeah, apparently, always in great shape as well. Even in his 50s, he looked in great shape.
Yeah. Worked out. We worked out. We used to train, all the time. Always working out. His wife, Japanese wife, Taruko at the time, was a great cook. He'd go to his house and be cooking and, meals and stuff like that.
When was the association between Mark and King Curtis formed?
Oh God, I don't know when it was. Probably in Detroit there somewhere. Sometimes Curtis used to always, there he was. What was his name? Skippy Jackson. Vince McMahon Sr. made man. He had his own private locker room in Madison Square Garden. And Curtis read this whole promo and Mark, it was he came over to the States. He was over here. He was mostly a baby face. I met him when I first broke in Vancouver, and I didn't know what was going on. I was just worried, learning how to put on a headlock and take a tackle and stuff. And he was leaving, and Kiniski was coming back to take over take the championship. It was Kiniski's territory, so he was doing the honors, and he was leaving, going back to Australia, I think. And that's where I was. They wanted to take me because Mark knew me, and then Curtis from Hawaii knew me, and they wanted to take me to Australia. And it's like 71, 72 for $800 a week. I think it was US or Australia, I can't remember. It was like $800 a week, which was good money back then. And Lord Blair's got wind of that. And that's how he shipped me off to Minneapolis with Billy Robinson.
How many territories did they successfully take over?
Well, I don't think they ever took any over. Actually, they tried to. The Calgary, New Zealand, but they couldn't get New Zealand away from Steve Ricard. He's an ex-cop up there in Upper Hutt. That was a little city outside of Wellington. Upper Hutt, New Zealand. Yeah, they couldn't. Steve had that. He was, he was a real pub guy, and he had a pub. He had a hotel, which was a pub up in Upper Hutt there, and he was an ex cop and whatever, and he was, yeah. And the Detroit, I guess they made a run at the Sheik. Mark and the Sheik were good friends. They tried to steal that territory. The Detroit, Calgary, New Zealand, but never succeeded.
But I will shut this podcast down, but I've just got to ask one thing. I spoke to Boogie Woogie Man, Handsome Jimmy Valiant, a few weeks ago, whenever it was. And one of the stories he told me was about the Sheik's handler, and he only called him Pigman, or the Pigman. Do you have any idea who the Pigman is?
No.
I
was never around Detroit. Only for WWF at the time. I never worked for the Sheik or never got on one of those 40-man cards or anything like that.
No, I was trying to look for pictures for this Pigman guy. Never heard of him, but we're talking 64 here, so I mean this is way before your time.
Yeah.
Okay, I will shut down the podcast in that sort of like down note for whatever reason. I know it wasn't the best ending, but we'll run through plugs again. I suppose T-shirt you can buy. There's a link under all YouTube videos that you can find them on dontherockmorocco.com for all your signed merchandise, books behind me as well, exclusive to Amazon, and all that is left for me to say is thank you for watching, and we will catch you again next week. Don.
Hello.